Okay, welcome everybody. I assume you can hear the sound of my voice. If you can, raise your hand or comment. We have some commenters. Yes, thank you, Melody. Always good to know that, always good to know. So today we're going to be talking about statistics and what happened in 2021, what's going to happen in 2022. I've been called Devlin. No, that's not right. Anyhow, predicting the future, always a tricky business. And I want to start off because I think I'm going to wait for a few more people to show up before we launch our pop quiz, right? There's a pop quiz coming up. And so what I want to do is to talk about how you can find statistics, not only what happened in the real estate market in 2021, but how you can find out perhaps what happened in your real estate market in 2021, and using that information perhaps on a monthly basis to strategize, to make decisions about how you're going to market and where you're going to market and that sort of thing, right? And I think this has been, you can see that I have animation. And what I'm going to do, well, a few more people, then we'll do the pop quiz. So if you wait till after 3 weeks into each month, the California Association of Realtors will update their reports. And you can find information about areas and zip codes and a bunch of different things, counties and cities and that sort of stuff. And they're infographics, and you can cut and paste them, and you can come up with your own marketing information, your own statistic information, analyzing what's going on in your market. The issue is that you have to wait 3 weeks before you can do that. And I'm one of those, nerdy types that as soon as the month changes, I'm thinking I better see what happened last month. And I know I'm not the only one. And that's because there's a number of real estate agents who email me their market reports as soon as the month changes. Oh, by the way, did you realize that as a real estate agent, you could sign up for other real estate agents' marketing reports? Did you realize that? And you don't necessarily have to say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. You could use a different email or whatever, but most of the time they don't care. It's an automated system. And if you do that, they'll mail you information about your competitors, will tell you what's going on in the market, and then you could look at it and see whether or not it was something that you might be able to use, or if you like the format, or if they made any interesting points. What you may find is that the vast majority of real estate agents just take statistics and dump them into an email and mail them to everybody. I see agents who go into the MLS, and the MLS has these grids, right? These tables, or they have a list of all the different areas for all the different cities, and there's all the different data, and they'll do a screenshot and they'll copy them for every county in the Bay Area as an example, and then they email it to people. Now, personally, I don't think that's very effective, because we are expecting our potential client or clients to read through all of the data to figure out which parts they might be interested in, and to interpret that data as to what it means to them, which might be just asking too much, right? Might be, because I think that most of our clients don't really want all the data as much as they want to know what's in it for me. Right? Is our sales up or down? Our prices up or down? What's in it for me, and what do I need to know? And that oftentimes would involve very specific statistical information. Now let's see. Oh, we've got maybe enough people. So we're going to, I promise there's only one little quiz. So I would like everybody to take a peek. And can everybody see the quiz? And we are getting, some people are voting. Is the amount of inventory in 2021 greater than it was in 2020, greater than it was in 2019, greater than it was or is it less inventory? Is there less inventory or more inventory? And let's see, how are we doing? We've got 82%, 18% said no, 17%, 83% are saying yes. Nobody's admitted that they don't know. They're not paying any attention to that sort of stuff. All right, so the survey says that 84% of you voted. The rest of you, man, I don't know, you gotta take a stand. 75% said there's less inventory in 2021. 25% said there wasn't less inventory in 2021. Is there a way we could, I don't know, prove that? Now, what I'm going to do is show you, I made a few slides this morning. I didn't do everything I would normally do if I was doing a full-on report, but I wanted you to see what the end products might look like. And then I'm going to show you how I got the information and how I made the slides, and perhaps how you could do so as well. I love it that it keeps moving. I do. All right, closed sales. Notice I did Santa Clara County and Alameda County, just because I like those two counties and they're in my area. Notice the number, and this is single family homes, condos, and townhomes added together. Notice there were 18,620 closed sales in 2021. Now, what that means to me is that there was more inventory in 2021 than there was in any of the previous 5 years. How would I have come to that conclusion? Well, there were more sales. Now, if you can explain to me how we could have more sales but less homes on the market, I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear that, right? But it would seem to me, in order for there to be a sale, then there would have to be a listing, and that would be inventory, and then the property would sell. Notice in Alameda County, it was 17,201, again, more than any other year in the last 5 years. So it might not be the problem entirely that there weren't enough homes to sell. It's depending on how you characterize this, but instead it might be the demand went up. But if there were more sales, there had to be more inventory. I'm going to stick to that. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you, this is the worksheet from which I put this together, and I am going to demonstrate what that means when I make the chart. And I'm going to do one so you can see it from beginning to end. When I make the chart, I don't include, well, this information here, which is a formula to determine what percent increase we had. And so what I usually do is I would take the year that, so 18,620 was 2021. I would look to see what's the next biggest year. How about 2017 had 15,000. I calculated the difference was 3,231 sales. Our sales were up 21% in Santa Clara County over the next highest year in the last 5 years. Now, I have people that say, well, you can't sell any houses, nobody's selling houses, or, you know, I don't know. Our sales are up 21% since the next strongest year, which was back in 2017. The market in Santa Clara County is crazy, right? It's crazy. And how would I know that? Well, those of you that are in Alameda County are probably thinking your market is crazy. Well, our market is crazier because the greatest increase from previous years in Alameda County was only 10%. We are special, like we're really special in Santa Clara County. So I'm going to show you how I put together these graphs and charts, just because, you know, I felt like it. I also broke them down by, in terms of Santa Clara County, SCC is Santa Clara County, and I broke them down by residential, single family, condominium, or townhome. Normally I get rid of the RES period, but you know, I was in a hurry this morning. You can see single family home sales in 2021 were really strong. Townhouse sales were greater, condominium sales were greater. And the number of them. The other thing that I always do, and I will show you how I got there to this point, is this is a breakdown, and you have to add zeros down there. But this is a breakdown to the sales in Santa Clara County by price range. You'll notice that the largest number of sales in Santa Clara County occurred in the 1.2 to the $1.4 million range. Oops, I see I have a comment. Let's see. Is any of those homes sold to BlackRock and properties not listed? Not very many of them. How many more real estate salespeople and brokers are there in 2021? I don't know. It doesn't really matter because there are a lot of people with real estate licenses. I'm not tracking that. The Department of Real Estate might. So 1.2 to 1.4 is the top selling price range. You have the 800 to 1 million price range, which is pretty high, but the second highest is the $2 to $3 million price range. Now, one of the reasons for looking at this is that if you were going to pick an area geographically that you wanted to work, and we'll show you how you could do that, if you wanted to pick a price range that you were interested in, I personally would go with one of the ones where there are a lot of sales, because it seems like if you've got something between 1.2 and 1.4, chances are good you're going to be able to sell it. I'm just thinking that. Alameda County, notice the distribution is it's lower, right? 800 to a million is where most of the sales occurred in Alameda County, the 600 to 800. We don't have a lot of those in Santa Clara County. And again, 1.2 to 1.4 is another big bump. All right, what is the median price? Now this combines single family, condos, townhomes, everything, but obviously from the previous chart, they're mostly, there are a lot more single family homes. Santa Clara County, and this was sort of the median for the year, right? Which is a median, I don't know. But the median for the year was 1.370, 1,370,000. That's it, that's Santa Clara County, a little over a million for Alameda County. And one of the things that I've done in my chart, which is over here, I added this later, and again, I'll show you how. So if we go back to 2016 for Santa Clara County, when the median price for that year was 890, and we compare it to 2021, $480,000 is the difference, and that's a 54% increase. Now, is that historically really, really crazy? Hard to say exactly. I've been in real estate a long time, like I've been, a broker ever since, and one of the things that I first heard when I got into real estate was that prices in California double about every 10 years. I was told that way back then. And you can see, since we're going back 5 years, that it's, not too far off. And then I broke down the number of sales. Let me just say, I'm going to get into how you could make these. So one of the things that I did was the sales price median Santa Clara County. Let me find my spreadsheet, and I'll show you how I made these. Sales price median Santa Clara County. So here is Alameda County, and here is Santa Clara County. And so the way I calculate the statistics, the percentage, because what I do is I first make the charts, but then I go in and I analyze the percent increase and that sort of stuff and the difference. And I do that so that I have something to say when I'm making a video and we're looking at the chart. So for example, let's just take a look at this. So for example, if I wanted to know how much single family homes have appreciated by compared to townhomes and condominiums, what would you guys say? Do single family homes appreciate higher than townhomes and condominiums? Do townhomes appreciate higher than condominiums, or is it all about the same? Now, the way I do that is I use I make a formula. So I say that this cell is going to equal 2021 minus what it was back in 2016, 604,000. And then this cell equals the difference divided by the old total. That's called the dot formula, difference divided by the old total. And because this is Excel and it knows what I'm doing, so what this shows that since 2016, the price of a single family, the median price of a single family home averaged over the year, you know, I know it's average median, but whatever, went up 60%, 42% for townhomes and 27% for condominiums. And to some degree, that was that disparity, because there was a while where condominiums and townhomes were appreciating about the same, but then COVID hit and there was more of a demand for Zoom rooms and things like that. And so what is the better long-term investment? Right. Now, what I wanted to do is maybe just show you, well, how did you do that? How did you find that out? And I'm using the software that is available through MLS Listings. If you're not with MLS Listings, you may have slightly different software. I know in Southern California, they use Matrix. That's the name of this program. It's called Matrix. Looks a little bit different. Alameda County and Contra Costa County use Paragon. San Francisco County, Sacramento County area metro list uses Rapatoni. They all have statistical programs. I can't answer how all of them work, but I can show you what I would do, right? What I do. Right. So let's say it's the beginning of a new month. So I would log into the statistics program, and I might say SCC for Santa Clara County. And one of the things I've noticed in our statistics is that it sometimes messes up MLS areas, right? I'm just saying sometimes it does that, and I happen to know, numerically speaking, that the major MLS areas that I would be interested in are 1 through 19, right? And by the way, as a real estate agent, it would be useful to know what area is 12. What is 12, right? Which is, of course, Blossom Valley, right? You might want to just know that. I highlight single-family condos and townhomes. And this is normally what I would do when I'm running the statistics. I go to customize. And this time I did a long-term trend. I went back 5 years because I wanted to see, what was happening pre-COVID. And I'll show you some other slides that I've done, but I'm going to create custom. And I'm going to say, I want to know December 2021, because that's the last month we have numbers for. And I'm going to start, I usually start at the bottom, number of sales. And I'm going to break it down by building type. And I click on, oops, that's not the right one. I click on advanced options, include prior years, and I, select it to sort by 2021. By the way, I'm recording this. If you send me $5, I'll send you a link, or you have to go to my YouTube channel, but you have to subscribe, you have to like the video, and you have to click on the blue bell. I'm just saying, otherwise, don't look at it. I'm going to click on generate, and there it is. Right now, when I click on data, what it's showing is the number of sales December over December. So when we do a year, when we finished a year, it is sometimes appropriate to say what happened that year, right? Because notice in the year, sales were up over 2020 in 2021. But in terms of December, not as much. And there are a lot of reasons, right? It was cold, there were more viruses, or whatever, there are reasons. So what I would do if I were doing the month over month, I would copy all of that. And then I go to Excel and I paste it in so it looks like that, right? Now, one of the other things and what I would do is once I've done that statistic, I would say, well, what is the median price The median price is a little more stable than average. You have a couple of big sales, and it throws the average off, but not the median so much. And I would then, paste that in. See, comment. Are we supposed to be seeing your screen? I think you can see my screen. Is there anybody who else that can't see my screen? My software says I'm showing my screen. Yes, everybody else can. Yes, you can see it. Monica says I can see it, but I don't know if she can see it. Can you see it, Monica? That would be a more relevant. That would be yes. So everybody else. Oh, it may be because of the mobile. You're going to have to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. That's the only way to do that, right? So I've got median price, and what I also would do is once I've done median, is I would throw in the average, because you'll see the numbers sometimes there's sometimes a big difference, and it's just something. Just because I look at it and make it put it in my spreadsheet, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make a chart, right? Because sometimes I want to do this just to see what's going on. And the other thing I want to look at is sales price to list price ratio, which is another metric as to how well the market is doing. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to paste it in. Right, and I'm going to keep going. I like that one. What else do I like? Price per square foot. I usually would throw that in because that sort of corrects for a lot of different factors. Are people getting more per square foot? Number of new listings. I might want to see how we're doing with the number of new listings, and so I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that in. Right, and so this is what I do at the beginning of the month because I don't have a social life. I got nothing better to do. So I go through and I pick up all of these. I want to look at months of inventory, which I bet is really low. I bet it's really low. Yes, it's really low. And I'm going to copy that. And so basically what I do is I go through, and most of the different things that I can look at, I do. List price average, expired listings. I'm going to run another one of those just to show you what's going on with that in a minute, because that's interesting, and I'm going to break it down. All right, I'm going to do that. All right. So the other thing I want to make sure is what are the days to sell median, and this will give you an idea of the craziness of our market, right? Single family homes, median days to sell in December was 8. All right. Now, what I'm going to, once I've done this, I add the words difference, because eventually this becomes a table, percent, and then this equals that cell minus that cell. And that cell equals the difference divided by the old total, and I make sure it knows I'm interested in the percent. So that means that there was a 14% drop in sales year over year for the month of December. And then I just dragged this down and I let it rip, and it's filled in some categories I don't want, but you just clear it and you just clear it and you just clear it until it doesn't look messy. I don't like it to look messy, and I clear it. And then I'll just take this because I'm going to make charts out of it, and I paste it in, paste it in, paste it in, paste it in. All right. And I didn't keep going, but you guys get the idea. What this is doing, it's creating a series of tables. By the way, the new MLS View Modern CMA gives a lot of stats like this price, sales price. Yes, I know it does. But you're going to see some other things. If you want to use the CMA, that's fine. But I like to do it myself. I don't know. I didn't do all of them, but you get the idea. Once I get it, I just drag it all the way down. Right. And so what it's telling me is that the number of new listings in December over last year dropped. They dropped overall. Right, the sales to list price ratio actually went down a little bit, right? But, or excuse me, went, how come it's doing it? That it's doing the opposite. That's, I don't know. So one of the things, before I go back to what the things that I did, let me show you one of the things that I find is useful for real estate agents to pay attention to. So once I've broken down, I want to look at number of sales. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick year-to-date exclusive, which is 2021, and I want it to do 1 year, right? I just want to compare 2021 to 2020. And instead of breaking it down by building type, I want to break it down by sales price, which I already did once, right? I made a chart for that. And what this does, remember, we were looking at where are the price ranges, where we have the most sales. Now, again, that would be information you could use to be a little bit strategic as to what markets you want to work in. The other thing I might do besides breaking it down by sales price is even breaking it down by area. And because I know there's at least 19 areas, I'm going to do 20 here. And so what this is showing me is which areas in Santa Clara County had more sales compared to 2020, right? And you notice Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Martin. I'm in Morgan Hill, right? We're called Morgan Hillbillies down here. And you can see that area 1, the Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Martin area actually had the most sales. Santa Clara, the second, Sunnyvale, Blossom Valley, Central San Jose. Now, I sold a house last year in Saratoga. It was a decent amount of money. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that, but you can get the idea of where the markets, which particular geographic areas are the most sales. Now, the other thing I would do, because again, I don't have, much of a life and I might as well do something, I'm going to pick zip codes and I'm looking for, let's say, just the top 20 zip codes. This could have been a poll question. What zip code had the most sales in 2021? My old favorite, 95123, which I'm sure most of you know is that are in our area. I know you're not all that are listening to me in the area, but that's Blossom Valley, one of the 2 major Blossom Valley zip codes. There's a question about why, and the answer is because 95123 is in that $1.2 to $1.4 million range, right? These are single family homes that are more affordable. 95125, I'm sure those of you that are in Silicon Valley know that that's, of course, Willow Glen. Of course, you guys know that. Willow Glen is a higher price point, but remember when we looked at where there were sales, there was also a bump in the $2 million range. I think you'd find that's Willow Glen. 95037 is Morgan Hill. 95035, of course, is Evergreen area. 95020 is Gilroy. 95124, that's a Cambrian Park area. 95008 is Campbell. 95051 is Sunnyvale. 95136 is a Blossom Valley. I'm running out of ones that I could do off the top of my head. So if you were thinking, gee, where would I want to focus my efforts as a real estate agent, a theory is you might focus in those areas that have a lot of sales, particularly areas that within those areas that are in the more dominant price ranges. Now, this is giving us kind of a macro view, right? And we need to take it a step further. And let me just start by saying I've had agents that I've coached and mentored tell me that they were picking a particular area or neighborhood. I'll just explain that, don't get into that story. This is MLS areas and this is zip codes. If you're doing digital marketing and like you want to show up on a Google search or something like that, it is very difficult for you to rank for zip codes and MLS areas and cities and things like that. Very, very difficult. And the reason it's difficult is because Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. Are there a lot of townhomes and condos in 120? Yes, there are, as a matter of fact. And that's one reason why there are a lot of I was asked, is there a lot of condos and townhomes in Blossom Valley? In 95123, there are, right? There are, which is why it contributes to the sales. Now, if you were saying, well, wait a second, I don't want to do condos and townhomes. I only want to do single family homes. And now you're going to see the data changes a little bit. Willow Glen, which has very few condos or townhomes, bubbles to the top. 020 is Gilroy. Gilroy doesn't have condos and townhomes either. And now 95123 drops a little bit further down, right? When you include everything, right, condos and townhomes, it moves to the top. So again, it's specific as to where the markets are moving compared to whether or not you want to do condos, townhomes, whatever. Anyhow, it's difficult, as I was saying, to rank on Google for cities, zip codes, and MLS areas, and that's because Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and everybody else, it's easy for them to search. It's easy for them to show up in those searches. You're competing against them. So what sometimes is a better strategy is within a zip code to find a neighborhood that is not an MLS area, and then look and see how that neighborhood is going. There was a guy that I was coaching, and he had picked an area called Prune Yard Dry Creek, which is kind of a San Jose, West San Jose, and a little bit of Campbell. And part of the problem with that pick is there aren't a lot of sales in Prune Yard Dry Creek, but you understand Prune Yard Dry Creek, that's not an MLS area, which means it's easier for an individual agent to get ranked. Other agents that I've worked with have focused on Burbank, which is a San Jose neighborhood, or Rose Garden, which is another San Jose neighborhood, but these are not MLS areas and they're not zip codes, right? They're subgroups. And so the idea about marketing is that the people who live in Rose Garden, by and large, know they live in Rose Garden, right? They do. And the people that live in Burbank kind of know they live in Burbank, right? Not everybody's aware, but most people are aware that that's the name of the neighborhood they're in. And so they might be searching for what's going on in Rose Garden or what's going on in Burbank or one of those neighborhoods. And it's easier if you're a real estate agent to rank for something that would come up in that search. Now, how would you do that? Well, you would need to identify the neighborhood, right? I'll just do one example, then I'll talk about something else, right? But let's say I'm Rose Garden, San Jose, right? Rose Garden, San Jose. And notice how Google, God bless them, has given a boundary for what they say is the Rose Garden area. So what I typically would be doing is I would have in another tab, I have a very big screen, by the way, computer, so I could do this on the same screen, or I'd have it on another computer where I would have the MLS open, and I would be setting up a map search. And then I'd be looking at that neighborhood diagram of Google, and on the MLS, I would be drawing using the polygon that area and then save it. Save that search. And then I would be running statistics and what's going on in that neighborhood. Now, notice one of the nice things about Google is they've told us the names of other neighborhoods, right? And if you ask, and I can't guarantee this works where you are, but it certainly works where we are. If you type in, right, what is Burbank in San Jose, California. Let's see, don't make me a liar, Google. So that's Burbank, looks like a, gerrymandered, congressional district a little bit, but you can see that is the outline of it. Now, once you've identified a neighbor, because real estate, it's all local. People generally aren't as interested. Yeah, they're kind of interested in what's happening nationally and maybe what's happening in the state and maybe what's happening in the county and maybe what's happening in San Jose. San Jose is a big city, right? Not as big as LA from where some of you are at, but it's a big city. And they even might care about Blossom Valley a little bit or something like that, but their neighborhood is something that they are much more likely to care about, right? They might care about that. So once you've identified, and my suggestion is, if you would like to use this to get leads, you would identify some of the neighborhoods that you would like to work, do a MLS map search after Google tells you what the neighborhood looks like. And by the way, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You understand, if I were to just put the cursor in the middle and do a radius search so it included all of that, yeah, I might pick up a few outliers, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. Somebody might call me up and say, hey, that property's not actually in Burbank, but nobody ever really does that. But once I've done that, what I would be doing is going to, I have no idea why it says that. How about this? Going to, there we go. And by the way, those of you that are in my coaching program, I'm going to be giving examples of this as we go along. But one of the things that you can do if you're a member of EXP is there's a blog. Did you know that? And what I would suggest, what you might want to do is, once you've identified the areas that are around where you want to work, neighborhoods particularly, as well as you can do MLS areas, but that's really easy. Everybody can do that. Neighborhoods, what you would do is you would create a post, right? And notice you could put in pictures and links and things like that. And what the post might be, Rose Garden, San Jose, December market update, right? And then you would, how are the sales up? Are the sales down? What is the median price? What is the average price? What are the days on market? Were there any expired listings? You don't want to, and you might even list some of the more recent sales and then post it, right? And then do Burbank and post it, and then do Pruneyard Dry Creek and post it, and doing it. Now, my thing is, my focus in life is no longer as much about getting listings and working with buyers, but my focus is agent attraction and agent development, which means I recruit agents and I also help agents become successful in real estate. That's really what I do. And so occasionally I've had somebody speak that I know does this effectively. And he goes through every month and he puts in something about every MLS area. He doesn't even go down to the neighborhoods because he's doing every MLS area. And the last time he shared with my people, because all he was doing was what I just suggested, but he was doing MLS areas. Somebody said, you get very much business from doing that. And he said, not that much. He said, not really. I only do maybe 2 to 4 transactions a year because I'm posting things on the blog about the market. That's all. Now, for some of you, an extra 2, 3, or 4 transactions doesn't sound like a bad idea, right? Doesn't sound like a bad idea. And if you're also marketing in or farming, we call it, in a particular neighborhood, if you're doing that, then having a blog where you're talking about what's going on in that market would be valuable. This is a indexed by Google blog. And so if you use the right keywords and you're specific enough, this is sometimes referred to in internet marketing as the long tail. See, you're not going to be on the top page of Google for real estate or California real estate or Santa Clara County real estate or San Jose real estate. And you're going to have trouble ranking on the first page of Google for Blossom Valley real estate or Morgan Hill real estate. But Pruneyard Dry Creek, there's a lot less competition for that. And although not as many people are searching for that neighborhood, the ones that are probably have a good reason, I would think. You can rank for that. You could rank for that. One other thing before, I hope this isn't, I'm not just bouncing around too much. One of the other things, by the way, if you've got clients, which would be a good thing, and let's say I have a client and I know they're in Cambrian Park. In fact, I know they're in 95124 in KV Core, which is, come on, will you just do it? All right, no, maybe not. Okay, so are you happy now? Sure, how about that? How about that? Are you happy now? All right, so, oh, that's the wrong thing I wanted to do. Oh, well. One of the things that I can do in KV Core is I can create a market report, which is automatically emailed to the client. I think this is what I was trying to do to begin with, where if I know that where the client is, I can email every month automatically what's going on in their zip code. All right, here we go. All right, and so I just did Santa Clara County because I was in a hurry. And so if I have somebody in 95124, I don't have to create a report for 95124. They'll create one for me and send it to them. Right? Pictures of homes that have sold, a little bit of what's going on in the market. One other thing I want to do with the statistics, and then I'm going to look at some of what the future is going to be like. One of the other statistics, expired listings. How many of you, some of you I know have signed up for, I want to know, for expired listings. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the last, we're going to add 5 years, and we want it broken down by year, why not? And we want to know how many expired listings there were. And I'm doing it over the last 5 years just for fun. And I'm going to click on generate, and no listings from the primary year. Let me do this. None. List price. Well, why is it not letting me do this? How about this? I'm not going to do prior years. How about that? What I want to do is list price. How about that? And just for fun, how many are there? So depending upon, these are the number in year to date for the year of 2021. Santa Clara County, right, which is, for those of you that are a pretty big county, right? Santa Clara County, the 19 MLS areas, right? These are all of the expired listings. Now, the largest number was in the 800 to 1 million, and there were 35, right? And so I don't know if I were going to add this up, if I did it by building type. There were 309 single family. The reason it's not showing me more is because I didn't do that. How about that? So in the year, come on. There was 309 expired listings in Santa Clara County last year. How many sales were there in Santa Clara County? Last year, 18,000. Now, I know, don't send me emails about this isn't a perfect statistical analysis, but what percent is 309 of, let's just round it off, of 18,000? And by the way, if you asked me what percentage of houses in Santa Clara County sell during the listing term, I would say it was about 98%, which is, that's showing that it's a little less than 2%. Now I know some of them that expire may have been relisted and they might be part of the sales. I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is we don't have a lot of expired listings. Right now, considering the fact that there are a lot more single family homes than condos that are sold, the 155 for condominiums is high, right? Because if you look at the number of sales, there's far fewer sales of condominiums compared to single family homes, but there's about half as many expired listings. And I've noticed that the condominium market in my area, our area, is soft, And that's because people want something bigger. Very few townhouses expired. So where I'm going with that is that current expired listings may not be a great way of getting business. Right? There's actually, I saw a video that EXP actually shared. It was from CRMLS, from one of their lawyers, talking about how people have had listings that have expired and they got hundreds of phone calls from real estate agents, and they've changed their phone numbers and block numbers and all of that. And some of them are on do not call lists. The recent expires, there's a big pile on. And the big pile on sometimes makes it very, it just seems kind of tacky to me. But there aren't a lot of expired listings. Now, where you are, there may be more, right? I'm just saying, in my area, one has to ask the question, why wouldn't a house sell in Silicon Valley? Why wouldn't it sell? The median days on market is only 8. Right? And people are selling for way above the list price on average. Why wouldn't it sell? And it's obviously got some issues, right? It's got issues. So where I'm going with this is that I would suggest, first of all, let me just say that it's market knowledge that can allow a new agent to compete with experienced agents. Because when somebody says, well, how's the market, which is a question they might ask you, the question sort of is, it depends, doesn't it? It depends on the price range, it depends on the area, it depends on a lot of different factors, but you ought to be able to answer that. Plus, my suggestion is you ought to every week see something, you ought to be looking at the MLS every day and looking for something that you could talk about. Other charts that I put together. So this is sort of what it would look like when I do this, right? And again, I would have done the broken down and found out the percentages so I could talk about it. The median price in Santa Clara County and Alameda, I would have known that. The sales price for Santa Clara County, broken down by whether or not it's a condo, a townhome. That may be something else I've already done. How about months of inventory? So, and I do all these in Excel. I don't know if you want me to see me do one, but I do all these in Excel. And so I ran the year of 2020 and compared it to 2021, breaking it down by month, which, by the way, you also could do with number of sales. You also could do that with median price, right? And that would give you some knowledge as to when is the market hotter, right? Even days on market, right? All of that could be broken down by month, so you could see where are the peaks and valleys, because this would be something an experienced real estate agent would know. So what was happening back in May and April and March when it started to spike? That's when COVID hit. By the way, I listed a house at the end of February, at the beginning of March. It was in Willow Glen. It sold anyhow, but it was a little more challenging back then in 2020. And you could see at that point it approached at the worst of the market, almost 3 months of inventory. Right now we're down to less than 1 month of inventory and less than a half of a month of inventory in 2021. And Alameda County, notice also it went up to almost 3, but again in December of 2021, it's still like half of a month. What month of inventory is a calculation that you're going to see often used to describe the strength of a market. And what it means is, if we looked at the number of active, and it includes usually pending, right? The ones that are active and pending, we look at what's on the market right now. Sometimes the statistics are just active. And we look at how many sales we had in the last 30 days. And we took the number of active listings and we divided it by the number of sales. How many months do we have of inventory? Why is this important? Because this, by the way, is a very common graphic that you're going to see. Notice they say if it's less than 6 months, it's a seller's market. Now, we have to go back in Silicon Valley to like 2008 and 2009 to find any markets where we had 6 months of inventory. apparently, other than 2 years during the downturn, we've never had a normal market in Silicon Valley. So I actually in Silicon Valley would say it's 4 months or less is the seller's market, which means we're in less than half of a month of inventory. We're in a very seller's market, right? And these are just generalizations, which I don't think are as accurate as they used to be. What about the market forecast? Should you have an idea of where we're likely to go? Rates are projected to rise, but still be low. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the MBA is the Massachusetts Basketball Association, or the Mortgage Bankers Association. It's one of those. They think it's going to get to 4%, and National Association of Realtors to 3.5. So interest rates are projected to rise. Generally, historically, interest rates are connected to inflation. But the way things have been, nothing seems to be following historic norms, right? As inflation goes up, typically interest rates go up. You could understand why if you're a bank and you're lending money at 3.5% and inflation is at 4%, you're not making any money, right? Because everybody realizes that when inflation is occurring, it's not that things are worth more, it's that money is worth less. So anyhow, but right now we have inflation, but interest rates aren't rising very much. Now, if you look over where this was, I might have been, I was very, very young at the time in the 1980s and 1990s, very, very young. I was a mere child, but I used to teach classes where in real estate finance, where I would use 8% as an interest rate. I'm not kidding. It was just like, 8%, 6% in the 20s, whatever that is, 2010s, it was over 4. So even though rates are going to rise, they're pretty much at a historical low. How about prices? Are they going to drop? Are they going to plummet? Are we going to have a crash? Should I wait to buy to next year when the sky falls? Well, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both think that prices are going to rise by 7%. Mortgage Bankers Association and HPES, I have to think about what that is one of the investment groups, is 5, Zelman and Associates and NAR. So these are national numbers, but maybe somebody's telling me what HPES is. My first interest rate in 1981 was 20%. Yes, there was a time in California where interest rates crossed 18%. You think, talk about a tough market. I'm not kidding. Interest rates crossed 18% in California. And that was the era of creative financing because it was difficult to sell homes. So buyers should not expect a 2008 and 2009 scenario. Probably not. Let's see if I have a slide on that. So projections for the number of sales are still strong, right? Nobody, the major, predicting people are not predicting that it's going to crash, right? The forecast by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the National Association, the Mortgage Bankers Association, is between 6.5 and 7.3%. So what some experts have said, First American's chief economist consensus forecast put rates at about 3.7, historically low, but higher than they are today. The chief economist for Realtor.com, Danielle Hale, affordability will increasingly be a challenge as interest rates and prices rise. Interest rates go up 1 point, it lowers the purchasing power of a buyer by 10%. And with more than 45 million millennials within the prime first-time buying ages heading into the market, we expect the market to remain competitive. Lawrence Yun of the National Association of Realtors says that home prices will continue to rise, but at a slower pace. Another guy from Realtor.com, more homeowners, they expect more homes to come on the market, which would take off some of the pressure. And again, from First American, there's strong demographic trends. There's likely, because there's a lot of people thinking maybe it's going to crash, there's likely to be an increase in the number of people listing their homes. I'm just saying. Now, what you need to be able to do with all of this is to articulate to a buyer or a seller or even an investor, what does this mean to you? Why should a buyer buy now and not wait? Two good reasons. Number one, interest rates are still low and they're probably going to go up. Every time they go up, it lowers the purchasing power of the buyer. 1 point increase in interest rate, 10% decrease in purchasing power. That means for the same mortgage payment that would have bought $1 million house, you only can buy a $900,000 house. Number two, so first of all, interest rates are likely to go up. And number two, prices are not going to drop. They're still going to increase. So the longer a buyer waits, the payments are going to get higher and the prices are going to get higher. And you might want to just, maybe get in. What does this mean for sellers? It's kind of the same thing, because if interest rates go up, it's going to lower the purchasing power of buyers. And historically, when the purchasing power of buyers goes down, then that has an effect on the median and average price, because people can't afford as much as they were before. And so you might want to, not wait too long. One of the things that I would say to a seller is, we can't really predict what the market is going to be like in 6 months or 8 months, right? I can't tell you really in September of 2022 what your market is going to be like, but I can tell you what it's like right now. And right now, we're still in a red hot seller's market. That may not last. Inflation, interest rates, the stock market crash, something could happen between now and then that might bring down your price. You don't want to wait too long. Is there going to be a wave of foreclosures? Some of you that were on my coaching call know that, I was talking about, I finished a relocation. I did a relocation thing with EXP today, but an REO, which is a bank-owned and distress sale course. I'm sure all of you that are listening to me right now that are not at EXP, I'm sure your company gives free, no additional charge, certifications for bank-owned properties, relocation, iBuyers, which are investment buyers, and commercial. I'm sure they all do. But is there going to be a wave of foreclosures? Well, one reason why there might not be is that compared to 2008 and 2009, people are not in as much trouble as they were. And there was a Mortgage Banker Association. By the way, I follow them on Twitter, so they post stuff all the time, which I also take a peek at. And they looked at the forbearance programs, and these are some of their findings. Fewer homeowners are in trouble. 38.6% of the people that were in forbearance paid in full, right? They made up, almost 20% made up their monthly payments. About 12% had made up their past due payments, and almost 7% paid off the loan. 44% negotiated workout repayment plans. Less than 1% sold as a short sale, or what's called a deed in lieu. I'm not hoping that we have a wave of foreclosures just because it's bad for people, but I was selling real estate in 2007 and 8 and 9 and 10, and I know what a short sale and a deed in lieu is. I was hoping I wouldn't need to know that again, but who knows? And about 17% left the program in trouble without a loss mitigation program. That's nothing like it was back in 2008 and 2009. Most of those left can still negotiate. They're still negotiating forbearance programs right now. And most of the people that are there, as it says, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and state attorneys generals are enforcing this, which means that you can still get mortgage forbearance today, right? You can still do that. Most people have equity. What happened in 2008 and 2009, it was the liar loans, the stated income loans, 100% financing. I have to admit, I sold homes in San Jose, 100% financing, because hey, prices in California always go up, right? They never go down until they did. And so people didn't have any equity, right? Because they hadn't been they didn't put anything down. But because of the rapidly rising home prices, most people have equity. And there are people that, so even if you, for example, lost your job and you can't make your payments and you run out of forbearance, you don't have to go. Most people don't have to go to a notice of default or a notice of sale. They don't, because they can sell the property, pay off their loan, and have some cash. There have been far fewer foreclosures. I mean, that's partly because prices are rising. When prices are rising, there aren't very many foreclosures. And that's because people can sell their property and pay off their loan, and they don't have to go all the way to the auction and the courthouse steps. And you can see up to the first 3 quarters of 2021, very few, right? Very few foreclosures. Short sales means that you need to get the bank's permission because there's not enough money to pay off the loan. But when you compare that to foreclosures, which are when there's an actual sale of the property, it's a lot less than it has been, a lot less. Also, people say, well, yeah, but there's going to be this flood of inventory and prices are going to plummet when that happens. This is like throwing peanuts at a starving elephant right now, right? If we added 1 million nationally, 1 million properties for sale, it would just be absorbed by the increased demand that we have right now. It would be a good thing, in my humble real estate view. It would be a good thing if inventory shot up dramatically. Right? It would be a good thing. And it might keep prices from rising as much, but it would be a good thing because we have more people that want to buy than we have things for them to buy. That's what I was going to talk about. Now, those of you that are in my coaching program, I'm going to put these slides in a format where you could modify them. If you would like help making them for yourself, just reach out to me. The how to do this, I've made other videos in the past, which I'm going to share. And the point of this is so that you can, in order to close transactions, you have to have clients. In order to have clients, you have to have appointments. In order to have appointments, you have to have conversations. And what the conversations you ought to be focusing on is, why is now a good time to sell? And why would it be better to sell sooner than later? Why is now a good time to buy? Why it's better to buy now rather than later? And you ought to plan how you're going to explain that to somebody. It's my suggestion. And so once you've got an ability to articulate this, then the next thing is you have to find people to talk to, which is something that I do in my coaching sessions every week. All right, was that, I hope you guys, you wore me out like always. You just wore me out, right? I have no energy left. So if you, by the way, are not at EXP and you're wondering how can I get all of these tools and get somebody like Mike to help me, reach out to me. If you are at EXP and you're a brand new agent and you're looking for a team or anything like mentoring and that sort of stuff, also reach out to me. And if you're not interested in joining EXP, I just don't understand why, but I also coach agents at other real estate companies, Keller Williams and Taro and others, and reach out to me. I might be able to help you. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe out there. And tomorrow we're doing a class on new loan limits and things like that. It's exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. See you all later. Bye now.